Rather than thinking there's something wrong with me, we can accept what we're trying to do is very difficult. So all over the world right now, serious, intelligent people are completely puzzled by how love works. People who've built businesses, people who've been successful in all sorts of areas of life will find love puzzling. They will be lonely. They will be in arguments with people. They will be feeling, as they go to bed, that no one understands them. This is normal. So each of us experiences the pains of love as if we are the first person to suffer, but we are not. We are all suffering in this area. And one of the functions of writing, of books, of art, is to help us to see that something that is going on in me actually has lots of equivalence in things that are going on in you. So if you can say, it is normal to suffer in an area of life. If you are suffering tonight as you listen to this lecture, please believe you are not alone. I personally join you as someone who has suffered in love and continues to suffer in love. I am not an intellectual studying love like a scientist might study the beetle. I am studying love for a very simple reason, to help myself. And if I can help myself, then maybe I could also help other people. I now want to shift to another, and I want to say that love has a history. And by history, I mean that the way in which people love is not the same throughout history. In some periods, in some countries, people love one way and others in another way. And one of the things that's very important to do is to try and understand how we love today. What is special about the way we love today? Because if we can understand how we love today and how that's different, then we can have some clues as to how we can make more of a success of love in our lives. So for most of human history, it's important to understand that you did not choose your partner. Your partner was chosen for you by your family and your community. This was the normal way in which for thousands of years, from Africa to South America, from the castles of Europe to the ancient kingdoms of Korea and Japan, to the Aboriginal communities of Australia, all of these societies did not allow an individual to pick their partner. It was chosen for them. And it was chosen for them for what you could call dynastic reasons. And so by dynastic, I mean in order to help the community. So maybe you had a cow and your partner had a plow. And so it was a good idea for you to get married, because then the plow and the cow could come together. So there were always dynastic reasons why people got married. And so people suffered a lot during this, because sometimes your partner was chosen for you and you didn't like them. But there was one important reason. You didn't really expect to like them. It was normal to hate your husband. It was normal to be bored by your wife. It was normal to think that your partner was unintelligent, uninteresting, and maybe even ugly. This was absolutely normal. It was just part of the suffering of life. To complain about this would be like complaining about bad weather. No one likes bad weather, but it's just part of life. You have no choice. So this is how people approached love for most of history. It's important to say also, people gained a lot of relief from religion. So maybe the partner did not understand you, but God could understand you, or the gods. So you would look to the sky for what you could not find in the bedroom. I'm not saying this was perfect, but it was different, and we have to understand how different it was. Then we entered the modern world, what we call the modern world. When we think of the modern world, we think of railways, electricity, transportation, industrialization. But it is also about a change in ideas, in the different way in which people start to think about relationships. And starting in Europe in the 19th century, there is a new idea of love, what we can call romantic love. Now, romantic love is different from dynastic love. Romantic love says everyone must have the right to choose their partner. This is not for your parents. This is not for your community. It is for you. And you must find them in a very special way by following a feeling, an emotion, not reason. In the past, reason and logic was applied to the problems of love. You should marry for these 7 reasons, and we should know what they are. But now, in the romantic age, it is just feeling. And feeling doesn't need to explain itself. You can just say, I've met someone, maybe in the supermarket or on the train, I have a special feeling, and that's enough. The feeling is the essence of love. Now, it's very beautiful. Every single song almost in the world celebrates this. Almost every movie has a plot line involving romantic love. It's a very powerful mission in the world, but it's complicated, very, very complicated. So let's look at some of the assumptions of love today. Each of one of us thinks that we will find a soulmate, someone that we will be able to understand totally, and they will understand us. They will be everything for us. They will be our best friend. They will be our business partner, our colleague, our co-parent, our sexual partner, everything in one person. It's a beautiful idea. And we also think that we will no longer be lonely because the other person will understand us. Also, we think in the romantic idea of love, we almost don't need to speak much to the partner. They will just understand us by a kind of magic. And so when people talk of true love, they sometimes suggest that true love is without words. It is almost a special kind of music. It doesn't exist in the realm of language. It exists in the realm of pure feeling. We have, if you like, brought the idea of an angel from heaven to earth. Nowadays, people sometimes even call each other as an affectionate nickname, Angel. They will say, Angel, have you bought the shopping today? They will use this as an affectionate nickname, but it's telling us something about the way we love in the modern world. Now, I want to tell you that the romantic way of living and loving is dangerous and very difficult. It is universal, but it is very problematic. Now, a big part of the reason is that if you choose someone by instinct and feeling, you are likely to make a mistake. Why? Let me explain. We have to understand how every human being starts to love. It begins in childhood. It's important to say that the way in which we love as adults has a lot to do with what happened in childhood. Now, you could say this is very strange. As an adult, you don't think of your childhood when you go on a date. You don't think of your childhood on your wedding day. But you should, because the clue to so many of the difficulties of adult love are to be found in childhood. Now, each of us is loved by a parent, a grandparent, a caregiver. There will be someone who will bring us into the world, and they will teach us about how love works. Now, don't get me wrong. They don't teach us in a school. We don't receive a formal education in love. It is informal. Sometimes I like to think of it as a version of the way in which we learn language, in which we learn to speak. Now, none of you learned to speak Korean by going to school. You learned by listening to your parents, to your grandparents, to everyone who was around, just as I learned to speak English just by listening to the people around. I didn't go to school, I just heard it, and then I absorbed it. And you could say that we learn the language of love in a similar way as we learn Korean or English, not by going to school, but just by watching and listening. We learn a huge amount in childhood. We learn, for example, some of the following things. What is a man? What is a woman? What is trust? What is kindness? What will happen if I say something nice to someone? Will they say something nice back to me? What will happen if I am angry? Am I allowed to be angry? Am I allowed to be sad? These are questions that our childhoods answer for us. And every family is a bit different. Every family has different rules. Life has a different grammar. A grammar of love. And we learn this grammar invisibly. Now, sometimes this grammar is beautiful. Sometimes this grammar is distorted. It carries problems. Imagine, for example, a family in which every time you, as a child, are a bit angry, your parent is very strict. They say, you have no right to be angry. You must be cheerful. This can be difficult. Or someone says, maybe in somebody else's family, someone says, you must be happy all the time. There is no sadness allowed in this family. We, your parents, we work hard and we expect in return that you are grateful and happy. So, as a child in this environment, you learn lessons. Sadness is not possible. Anger is not possible. And we learn these lessons, but we don't remember that we have learned them. In the same way as we don't remember that we learned Korean or English. No one sat us down in a school and taught us. It just went inside our minds and now it's there. We can call this a pattern of relating to other human beings. And this pattern is very powerful, and it explains a lot of the problems of love. Because you see, in adulthood, when we choose a partner, we do not choose a partner who will make us happy. Oh no. This is very important to understand. I'm going to repeat it. We do not choose a partner who will make us happy. We choose something else. We choose a partner who feels familiar, who feels like someone we have met before. And the person who they will resemble is almost always a parent or maybe a grandparent, but someone who was close to us in childhood and who taught us about love when we were
아군이
small.
당했습니다.
And we take this model and we apply it to our choices in adult love. Why is this complicated? I'm now going to be a little bit rude or impolite to parents. I am a parent and I have parents. Many of you in the audience are parents and have parents. So this is not personal, forgive me. But we need to understand that our parents do give us many complications. And one of the complications that they give us is that they give us a model of what love is that is not connected up to our happiness and our flourishing. Let me give you some examples. You will all know in your friendship groups people who choose partners who are not good for them. Okay? For example, imagine you have a friend, she is beautiful, she is kind, she is well educated, but always she seems to fall in love with men who maybe are lazy, are cruel, maybe even violent. And people say, why? Why does this amazing person love in this way? Or maybe you know a friend like this, a friend who always loves women who do not love him back. He loves, he gives, he is passionate, but the woman is not interested. The woman is cold. The woman is distant. She does not love the man. Why? Why do we love in this complicated way? Why do we love someone who makes us suffer? And almost always the answer is in childhood. That probably we were trained as well as we were trained to speak Korean, to speak English. We were trained to suffer. We were trained that love is not love unless a person is distant, unless a person is cold, unless a person is not very interested in us. Sometimes we go on a date with a lovely person. They are maybe very attractive. They maybe have an interesting job. They are kind. But somehow we do not feel a connection. We do not feel an attraction. There is no feeling. Feeling goes to someone else, to someone who is maybe not nice looking, not kind, not even especially interested in us. Why? What is going on? What is going on is a repetition of a story of love that we learned in childhood. We are choosing in similar ways to the ways we chose in childhood. And it is giving us problems. It is making us suffer. So, I don't want to depress you totally, but I want to prepare you, because this is what each of us faces. Our instinct is not correct, if you like. Our instinct brings us towards difficult people and difficult romantic situations. I want to give some hope here. I think that we are in a transitional age of love, if you like. We have come from the age of the dynastic marriage, and then we've moved to the age of the romantic marriage. And the romantic marriage is complicated, and the dynastic
아군이
marriage
당했습니다.
is complicated. Both are very complicated. What is the future? I am an optimist. I think that we are going to have a third age of love. And this age, I want to call the age of therapeutic love. The age of therapeutic love. And by therapeutic, I mean a kind of love that uses the information about love that we know from the discipline of psychotherapy and psychology. Psychotherapists and psychologists know a huge amount about love, but we don't really listen to them. We listen to them a bit, but not in the moments it really matters. And I believe we are going to move to an age when we use the intelligence, if you like, the collective intelligence of psychotherapy and psychology to guide us more accurately in our love lives and in our love stories. This will start, I believe, in the dating moment. At the moment, all over the world, people nowadays meet on dating apps. They look on their phone, they see a face, and they decide on the basis of a face and maybe a few words whether they want this person as their husband or their wife for the next 50 years. This is crazy. This is illogical. What we need to do is to understand the depths of every human being. We need to help everyone to understand where have I come from? What is my attitude to love? What is my attitude to men? What is my attitude to women? To money? To time? To jobs? All of this information as a result of an interview that could last maybe 5 hours. A solid, in-depth interview. All of this information must be fed into a computer. We know and we understand so much the benefits of technology in many areas of life. We have not yet begun to apply the benefits of technology to the area of love. And let me say, the area of love is so important. The happiness of an individual is decided almost 70 or even 80% by the quality of their love life. If somebody is very rich but has no love life, they're not happy. If someone is famous and esteemed but has no successful love life, they are not happy. You are only happy if you have correct love life. And this is so difficult because we are leaving to instinct what actually we should leave to logic and reason, but reason that has been informed by psychotherapy and psychology. So I predict that we will soon, using technology, artificial intelligence, and massive data, be much better able to say who belongs with who in Seoul, in Tokyo, in London, in New York, is who with who. The whole world will be open to a correct match between people, so that no longer will it all be a horrible chance. Now, this is the dating part of love. But love is not just dating. There's also how to make a relationship work. And here, I believe that we will soon make an exchange with technology companies. We will say, I will give you my data if you give me advice, good advice, and not advice in one book at the end of a year, but advice all the time, maybe in my ear, all the time. We will have machines that will tell us, you have not asked your partner enough questions about themselves today. If you continue in this selfish way, their love will die. So ask them, how was your day? Did anyone make you sad? Has something made you angry? Couples will be able to resolve arguments at the beginning. The problem of love often is that there is a conflict which has not been explored properly for a long time. And when something has not been explored, it becomes like a cancer in the middle of a relationship. It blocks feeling. Most of the time, people say that after a while in a couple, You don't want to kiss your partner. You don't want to sleep with your partner. Why? Some people say this is natural. I don't think it's natural. I think it's the result of anger. It's the result of conversations that you have not had with your partner. There are many things that we need to learn about how to love. We need to go, if you like, to a school of love. Now, I can understand that for some people, this does not sound very nice. It sounds not very romantic. Of course, I can learn medicine. I can learn technology. I can learn science. But love? No. I will learn it by feeling. Again, this is a disaster because feeling alone will lead us into trouble. We know so much about how people love and the difficulties they get into. Let me give you an example. There are two kinds of love style, and maybe you have heard of these love styles that bring a lot of complications into people's love life. The first style is known by psychologists as an avoidant style of love. You can be avoidant in love. What is an avoidant love style? Let me explain to you. For some of us, in childhood, we learn that when we need something from another person, they will probably disappoint us. Therefore, we learn to take our sadness and to go away on our own, to shut the door, maybe to listen to music, and to be sad. What we do not do is speak. We do not speak to a person who has hurt us because we feel that they will not listen and be kind. Now, sometimes this is right, but sometimes it's wrong. In other words, they will listen to us, but we don't give them a chance. Because in childhood, we learned that people are not worth having faith in. So we give up very easily. This is the avoidant love style. And the avoidant thinks, I am in trouble, people don't want to know. Even my husband, even my wife. I can't explain. I will fall silent. Now, this is you. If you feel that you are an avoidant person in your love style, this is complicated. And what you need to do is to understand yourself and signal and warn the other person that you have this love style. It's important to understand that no one is perfect, and you don't need lovers to be perfect. You don't need a perfect lover. What you need is someone who understands how they are imperfect. You need someone who understands the ways in which they are not fully mature, not fully adult, not fully reasonable. And this is the greatest gift, the greatest present you can give your partner, to give them a myth of the ways in which you are not totally normal and healthy in love. No one is normal in love. But if you know how you are abnormal, then you will be helping your partner a lot. I sometimes say that on a first date, when two people are on a date for the first time, a very good question that they should ask each other, maybe near the end of the meal, they should say, so tell me, how are you crazy? And this is not an insult. Of course, everyone is crazy. You should say, I'm crazy for maybe these 5 reasons. How are you crazy? And your partner or your prospective partner should say, these are my reasons. And both people should smile and be kind, that they should understand that of course they are not perfect. And if someone says on a date, Hannah, this is rude. I don't want to tell you how I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm completely normal. Then you should run away from this person. This is not a good person. Because someone who thinks that they are perfect is not perfect at all. Someone who thinks they are perfect is going to be trouble. You know, maybe now you see that I'm smiling a little bit because this is almost fun. And one of the very important things in life is a sense of humor. And humor is not just silly jokes. Humor is a serious business. Humor is what we feel the gap between what we hope for and the reality. There is often a very big gap. We hope for someone like this, and we get someone like that. And the gap between the two, we should fill with humor, because this suggests a gentle manner, a philosophical manner, a kind manner towards the difficulties of life. I talked about childhood. I talked to you about the difficulties that childhood creates for adult love. And I want to say a little bit more now about how this works. When we are children, in order to survive our childhood, we need very often to adjust our characters in a special way. For example, let's imagine that we have a parent who is depressed. They are always sad. Often children of very sad people become very cheerful. They become the joker of the family. They are always cracking jokes. Why? Because they want to cheer up their parent. Or imagine a parent who is jealous of their child. This could sound strange. Surely no parent is ever jealous of their child. Unfortunately, they are. This is quite normal. Mothers can be jealous, especially of their daughters, and fathers can be jealous of their sons. It can be hard when you are reaching middle age, when you have maybe a lot of compromises in your life, to see a young person full of hope, full of dynamism. Sometimes there is jealousy towards the younger generation. In a family, there can be love and jealousy. And sometimes, if you grow up in this sort of family, you will decide the way to stay safe, the way to be loved, is to adjust my behavior to the demands, the unconscious demands of my family. So maybe I need to make lots of jokes all the time. Or maybe I need to not be very successful, because if I'm successful, I will upset and threaten the parent I love. This is the way in which sometimes children feel. Unconsciously. This is not conscious. This is unconscious. Now, these are strategies to survive childhood, and they are often very successful. Children have no power. They are small. They have no money. They have no options. They have to survive until they are adults, and they will adopt strategies to survive. And all children are naturally and unconsciously very good at this. But here's a difficulty. The strategies that we employ to help us to survive our childhood is very often the same strategies that we use as adults, and there they are not helpful at all. Let me give you some examples. Imagine that you grew up as the joker in the family, always making jokes to cheer up a depressed parent. But now you are in a relationship with someone, and all you can do is make jokes. So your partner sometimes wants to be serious and talk seriously But no, you always joking, and it becomes a problem. Or imagine if you believe that in order to survive with other people, you must never, ever say that you are angry. If you are angry or frustrated, you must never say it. This was maybe the lesson of your childhood. Never say you are angry or frustrated. Maybe this was useful when you were small, when you were 8, when you were 10. But now, maybe you're 20 or 30, and you are with a partner, and they say to you, is anything wrong? And you say, no, not because nothing's wrong, but because you feel inside, unconsciously, that you don't have the right to say that something is wrong. You feel you always have to say, I am okay, even if you are not okay. And this becomes a real problem, because you won't be able to feel sincere and authentic with a partner if you always just have to smile. It's a paradox of a good relationship, that in a good relationship, sometimes two people need to be able to say they are angry. Sometimes they need not to shout, but to be cross, to say, I'm angry with you, I'm disappointed with you. This is part of love. Love is not just being smiley all the time. But for some of us, this is what our childhoods teach us. Now, what hope is there for us if this is our pattern? Let me give you a suggestion. We need to ask ourselves a very important question. We need to say, is the way in which I behave now connected up to something difficult in my childhood? Is a strategy that I am using now a strategy that worked in the past, but maybe does not work in the present? And if this is the case, we need to be very gentle with ourselves and talk to a child inside us. This could sound strange. Do we have a child inside us? Yes. I believe that we carry within us all the ages we have been. If you are 90, you have inside you the 20-year-old you, and also the 5-year-old you. There's all inside you, like a sequence of Russian dolls of smaller and smaller sizes. And we need to understand the little person inside us. And we need to be able to say to them, thank you. Thank you for the strategy that you worked out when you were 4, when you were 5, when you were 7, about how to cope and adjust to the people around you. But then you say, enough, enough. It's enough now to always fail because someone is jealous of us, to always smile because someone has no time for our complications. We need to be able to allow ourselves, finally, to enjoy the love that we deserve. Each one of us deserves love, but we often don't feel we really do. Unconsciously, we are guided towards suffering. And this is what I hope my lecture can show you, that we are sometimes addicted to a kind of suffering in love by instinct. And we should understand why, and then we should turn towards a more optimistic future, a future where we use understanding to overcome some of the complications of instinct. This brings my lecture to a close. Thank you so much for listening. We have time for questions now.
네, 작가님의 인상 깊은 강연 정말 잘 들었습니다. 이제 작가님을 다시 모시고 오늘의 강연으로부터 자연스럽게 이어지는 여러 층의 또 다른 이야기들을 나눠보는 시간을 갖겠습니다. 알랭드 보통 작가님 다시 모셔보겠습니다. 작가님.
Hello.
네, 안녕하세요. 네. 오늘 강연 정말 잘 들었습니다. 네, 저 역시 사랑에 대해서 고민하고 있는 한 명의 개인으로서 스스로에 대해서 아주 많이 되돌아보는 시간이었고요. 또 그 오늘날의 현재의 사랑뿐만 아니라 그 미래의 사랑에 대해서도 여러 가지 가능성과 질문들을 또 여러 가지 마음속에 품게 된 그런 시간이었습니다. 그래서 여러 가지 질문들이 막 샘솟는데요. 제가 그 듣고 계시는 분들을 대표해서 먼저 몇 가지 질문을 드리겠습니다. 첫 번째 질문입니다. 작가님께서 2016년도에 출간하신 낭만적 연애와 그 후의 일상, 한국에서 2016년에 출간을 하셨더라고요. 그런데 벌써 10년이 흘렀습니다. 시간이 정말 빠른데요. 그 사이에 세계는 팬데믹이 휩쓸고 지나갔죠. 그리고 그 전과 달리 SNS와 디지털 소통이 우리의 일상이 되었습니다. 작가님께서는 이런 지난 10년간의 여러 가지 사회적 변화가 우리의 사랑의 본질에 어떤 식으로든 영향을 미쳤다고 보시는지 궁금합니다.
Thank you
그리고
for
10년
this.
전,
Sorry.
yes.
Thank you for this fascinating question. I think that love has become even more complicated because what we have now are so many choices, so many inputs, so much possibility for communication and distraction. But let me tell you something important. In order to love properly, you need to understand someone who maybe you don't understand very well at this moment. And this person is you. We have built a world with so much chance for communication with other human beings, but not so much chance for communication with ourselves. What do we need to communicate with ourselves? One of the things we need is silence and a lack of external distraction. Excuse me. If we are always surrounded by chatter, by noise, by stimulation, maybe we will feel entertained, but we won't be wiser. The reason why self-knowledge is so difficult is because for each of us, if we open the door into our own minds, we are frightened. What will we find inside our minds? What if, for example, we are so sad? We are sadder than we thought we were. Or what happens if we open the door inside and we discover that we are angry with someone that we thought we should just be nice to? So there are many feelings inside us that we do not like to explore. They don't feel safe. And we've invented a devilish, difficult piece of technology at these moments. It's called our phone. Whenever we feel a thought we don't like, we pick up our phone. But sometimes these thoughts are trying to communicate something very important. Sometimes there is a part of our minds that is trying to tell us something vital. For example, leave this relationship, or call this person up, or say something, or be sad, or leave this job, or start this job. These are all pieces of information that are inside the deep parts of our mind, the hidden chamber of our mind. And the problem with our phones, don't get me wrong, our phones are wonderful in some ways. They're great for ordering food, for finding maps, for finding the train station, but they are not good for finding our true selves. And if someone doesn't understand themselves, they will have much less chance of understanding another person. In other words, they will have less of a chance of happy love. Thank you.
네. 정말 침묵이 필요한 시대라는 말씀에 저도 깊이 공감합니다. 네, 먼저 스스로를 돌아봐야겠습니다. 네. 다음 질문입니다. 오늘 우리는 사랑은 존재한다. 누구나 로맨스를 꿈꾼다라는 그런 전제로 이야기를 나누었는데요. 그런데 사실 한국뿐만 아니라 다양한 나라의 또 많은 여러 젊은이들이 관계에서 오는 피로감이나 또 사회적 조건들, 그런 것들 때문에 아예 사랑을 혹은 로맨스를 선택하지 않는 비연애를 추구하고 있는 것 같습니다. 비혼의 비율도 어느 때보다 높고요. 이런 현상들로 인해서 이제 사랑이라거나 사랑에 기반을 둔 연애 결혼 으로 이루어진 어떤 가족이라는 그런 정의에 대해서 전통적인 틀에서 좀 벗어나 다르게 바라봐야 한다는 입장도 있는 것 같습니다. 작가님께서는 이에 대해서는 어떤 생각을 가지고 계시는지 궁금합니다.
I'm going to give you a slightly strange, slightly unconventional answer. Let me begin. At different points in history, a society realizes that it does not have enough of the right sort of people. And what does it do when it realizes that it doesn't have the right sort of people? It does something very simple and very effective. It trains them. So if a society doesn't have enough soldiers, it starts an academy of military activity in order to train soldiers. If a society doesn't have enough brain surgeons, it sets up a medical institute to train brain surgeons. Okay? Why am I telling you this? At the moment, I know a lot of people who are complaining all the time. Sometimes, let me say, I complain. Where are the good lovers? Why are there not more good lovers? What do we mean by a good lover? A good lover is kind. They are introspective. They are thoughtful. They are gentle. They are sweet. They are thoughtful about you and about themselves. Okay? And many of us, we say, where are these people? Why don't they exist? Okay? Now, imagine my earlier example about brain surgeon or soldiers. When a society feels it doesn't have enough of the right sort of people, it trains them. Now, you might be thinking, what does this crazy man think? Is he saying that we should train lovers? And I am saying absolutely. We should have academies of love. In the same way as everyone trains nowadays in higher education. They go to university to learn a special technical skill, maybe engineering, maybe marketing, maybe medicine. They learn something. And it's normal to learn something. Well, I believe we need to build a world where it is normal to become a student of love and to become a good lover and to get a diploma in love. Now, what is a diploma in love? I think in the future, it should be a diploma that is as prestigious as the diplomas of the best universities today, but it doesn't tell you that you are an expert engineer or doctor. It tells you that you are an expert at love. And by an expert, I mean someone who knows how to understand yourself, how to be kind, how to be good, how to be funny, but also how to be serious. All the arts of love that I talk about, that many people talk about, they are no secret. It's just we don't put them into practice. And I would like to see a future where we put the ideas that we have of love systematically into practice, so that there will be fewer of us who, on a Friday evening in Seoul or in London, are thinking, why am I alone? Why can I not find someone? The problem is not you. The problem is one of supply. We do not have enough good lovers. Why? Because we have not trained them, and we need to train them. If you can train a pilot, if you can train a brain surgeon, you can definitely train a lover. Thank you.
네, 잘 들었습니다. 사랑과 관계에 대한 교육기관이 생겨야 한다는 그 말씀이 너무 흥미롭게 다가옵니다. 그 들으시는 다른 분들도 그러셨을 것 같아요. 그 말씀은 결국 자기 자신에 대해서 그 과정을 통해서 사람들은 자기 자신에 대해서 더 잘 이해하게 될 것이다 라는 말씀으로 또 들립니다. 네. 그리고 오늘 강연 중에 또 잠깐 그 언급해 주셨는데요. 이제 또 지금의 사랑 그리고 미래의 사랑에서 AI 같은 그런 테크놀로지가 중요한 역할을 한다. 그리고 앞으로도 할 것이다 라는 말씀이 무척 인상적이었습니다. 그런데 전통적으로 사랑이란 신비로운 것, 우리가 말하지 않아도 아는 것이라고 믿어온 분들도 많이 계시잖아요. 이런 AI의 조언 같은 기술이 우리의 감정적 문제를 방해하지 않고 치유의 도구로만 착하게 기능하는 것이 과연 가능할까요? 궁금해집니다. 저 역시 누군가와 대화를 할 때 AI의 조언을 얻어본 적이 있는데요. 가끔은 궁금하더라고요. 서로 나의 AI와 그 사람의 AI가 둘이 서로 대화하고 있는 것은 아닐까. 네, 걱정이 들기도 해서 이런 질문을 드리는 것 같습니다. 사랑의 신비를 지키면서도 기술을 지혜롭게 활용하고 싶은 분들이 많이 계실 텐데요. 이런 분들을 위해서 인간과 그 테크놀로지가 맺어야 하는 적정한 거리라는 게 있다면 어떤 게 있을지 조언 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
Thank you for this fascinating question. And you know, I like the phrase, the mystery of love. But it makes me smile because I want to ask you a question. How good has this mystery been for many of us? And I think the mystery of love has been a disaster. I mean, so many of us suffer in love at the moment. The mystery is not a good mystery. I like mysteries when they are helpful and when they lead to happiness. But I don't think the mystery of love is really a good mystery. You know, we live in a world where people often say that certain things are unromantic, not romantic. For example, if you go on a date with someone and you talk about money, people will say, oh, that's not very romantic. Or let's imagine you went on a date and you brought your AI companion and you talked about your psychology and your childhood. People would say, this is not romantic. This sounds like a robot. This is not romantic. I think that most things that we call unromantic are, if you like, properly romantic. If we change the meaning of this word to signify what is going to be helpful to love. Will it be helpful to love to discuss psychology, money, the practical side of love? the intellectual side of life. Will it help? Yes. So even if there is no mystery, it is properly romantic because it will help you to be happier. So we have this idea that technology is cold, that technology is the enemy of, if you like, the intimate side of life. But my real hope for the future of humanity is that we learn to use computers and technology and computing power in a way that really is helpful to the real problems. You know, the first industrial revolution was about transformations in speed and power. We learned how to go faster, how to make things faster and on a bigger scale. This was the first technological transformation. But now we stand on the edge of a more intelligent transformation. And we really need help because human beings without help are not very intelligent. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I look at my life and the life of the people I care about, none of us is doing a brilliant job without help. And so if that help comes from a computer and it's genuine help, why not? This is going to be better than what we have today. And so I'm very hopeful of the future of love. But I also believe that there will be enormous changes ranging from how we choose a partner, to how we are educated, to how we manage a relationship with another person day to day. And I think that in 20 years, people will look back at this time and think this was a very difficult time. This was a time when the worst kinds of technological interventions were distracting people and were not helping them. When the old world had died, but the new world, the better world, had not yet come into being. And so I think we are in a difficult interregnum, but the future is brighter. Thank you.
네, 답변 잘 들었습니다. 작가님 말씀대로 더 나은 세계에 대한 희망을 가지고 AI와 열심히 사귀어 보겠습니다. 친하게 지내겠습니다. 방금 드렸던 질문과 어떻게 보면 또 조금 연결이 되는 질문을 하나 더 드리겠습니다. 오래전이죠, 벌써. 아날로그 시대에는 우리 한 달 뒤에 서울역 앞에서 만나자 라고 약속을 하고 연인들이 헤어졌습니다. 한 달 동안 그 약속만을 기다리면서 서로 애틋하게 시간을 보냈죠. 그러다가 만약에 한 달 뒤에 한 명에게 무슨 일이 있어서 거기 나오지 못한다면 영원히 서로 만나지 못했습니다. 그런데 현재 연인들은 스마트폰이 있기 때문에 24시간 서로 연결되어 있는 것 같습니다. 이에 대해서 예전이 더 좋았다라는 생각이 있는 것도 같습니다. 왜냐하면 연인과 실시간으로 연결이 되어 있으면 내가 메시지를 보냈는데 너는 왜 바로 답장하지 않았어? 나를 더 이상 사랑하지 않는 거야? 라며 새로운 통제와 또 그에 따라서 새로운 불안이 생길 수도 있기 때문이죠. 어떻게 하면 이런 새로운 소외감으로부터 영혼을 잘 보호하면서 사랑을 할 수 있을까요? 혹시 이런 부분에 대한 생각도 가지고 계신지 궁금합니다.
This is such an important question. I think we are still learning how to use technology. And I believe that we don't yet have the self-awareness to use the technology wisely. My recommendation for anyone in a relationship is very early on to discuss the etiquette of messaging. And this could sound strange. Surely everyone knows how to message. But as your question suggests, there is a huge amount of pain in this area. there is a way in which you can say goodbye to your partner at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 9:05, you send them a message, and you don't hear a reply till 11:32. And during that time, maybe you will become convinced that your partner is finished with you. They don't love you anymore. At 9 o'clock, your love seems solid. By 11:32, it feels like a disaster. Now, this almost sounds like a joke, but it's not. It's very tiring, and it's very serious. And couples need, again, I come back to a word I've used before, education, so as to be able to share with one another the secret anxieties that they have. The enemy here is a lack of conversation, and there is still so much silence between couples around the anxiety of love. You know, love is very frightening to receive and to be involved in. We have this idea that love is what everybody wants, but it's not true, because for many of us, we are so scared of being disappointed by another person that we run away from the possibility of love. And when we think of our phones, sometimes there is a little bit of this fear of love, that we think, if I don't hear from my lover in the next 20 minutes, I must withdraw my love. I must go cold to protect myself. Or maybe I must get angry in order to insist on love. These are not good strategies. So, in my view, as so often is the case with technology, we have powerful technology, but we don't know how to use it, because we haven't been trained in how to deal with the anxieties of love in relation to technology. I mean, just to answer your question very briefly, I do think that lovers who are anxious should probably make a deal with one another to say, our love will survive the day, but we will not message each other all day. So I will next see you in the evening, but between the morning and the evening, my love remains, but I will not talk to you by message, because the unanswered message is just too worrying. This is not because I'm a bad person, it's just I'm a worried person. And if you love me, you will understand my anxiety. So, not because I don't love you, but because I do love you, I won't message for a long time during the day. This is maybe something that anxious lovers should say to one another. Thank you.
네, 대답 잘 들었습니다. 역시 솔직한 대화와 회피하지 않음, 그리고 감정의 공유가 무엇보다 중요하다는 또 말씀으로 들립니다. 네, 이제 제가 드리는 마지막 질문일 것 같습니다. 이제 한국 사회에, 저는 한국에 살고 있으니까 한국 사회의 이야기를 좀 드려보면요. 최근에 그 한국 사회에는 손절이라는 신조어가 있습니다. 많이 통용이 되고 있어요. 영어로 하면 cut off나 cut someone off 이 정도가 될까요? 그런데 그것은 어떤 인간관계를 손익계산서로 파악해서 갈등의 비용이 크다라고, 관계를 유지하는 것보다 갈등의 비용이 크다라고 판단이 되면 관계를 즉각적으로 끊어낸다는 하나의 생존 전략으로 통용이 되고 있는 듯합니다. 복잡하게 대화해서 관계를 막 어렵게 회복하는 것보다 그냥 끊어버리는 것이 더 효율적이라고 보는 거지요. 이거는 비단 연인뿐 아니라 친구 관계나 우정이나 친구 관계, 이런 동료 관계, 이런 여러 인간 관계에서 이런 면이 있습니다. 저는 언젠가 작가님께서 사랑은 상대의 불완전함을 기다려주는 과정이라고 말씀하셨던 그 글을 읽은 적이 있는데요. 그게 굉장히 되게 깊이 있는 저에게 어떤 울림을 주었습니다. 그런데 지금처럼 이렇게 모든 불편함을 즉각 제거하고 피해버리는 효율성 중심의 사회에서 우리는 결과적으로 무엇을 잃어가고 있는 건지 저는 의문스럽습니다. 이에 작가님의 의견도 궁금합니다.
Let me say very honestly that I believe that this habit of blocking people and not having difficult conversations, which, by the way, exists in England just as much as in Korea, unfortunately, is really disastrous. And in the future school of love that I want everyone to go to, we will be taught a very important lesson before we receive our diploma. And this is a lesson in how to say goodbye to a person. So no one should be allowed to leave a relationship without properly explaining why they are doing so in a way that the other person can understand. Because, when we think of heartbreak, when we think of the terrible situation when someone is left in love, the pain of heartbreak is not always the same. So much depends on whether the reasons for the end of a relationship are clear or are mysterious. And mystery hurts. It hurts a lot. So we should, of course, allow couples to break up, maybe to divorce. But we should not allow them to do so without an explanation. Even if somebody says, I don't like you because I no longer find you attractive, or I find that our conversation is not interesting, or I've met someone else, these are painful. But it's less painful than mystery, than being blocked, than silence. Because when there is silence, there is also real fear inside our minds that the very worst story about ourselves is true. And very often, it's not true. It's not the worst story. Maybe the partner doesn't think you are awful. They just think they want to change. But if they have no explanation, if the person is not given an explanation, then your mind always goes to the worst story. So as I said, I believe passionately that we must explain what we are doing. Always, in the moments when what we are doing is difficult. The art of a difficult conversation is extremely important part of our life. Thanks.
네, 감사합니다. 어렵고 상처를 받더라도 때로는 반드시 통과해야 하는 상처가 있는 것 같습니다. 그 말씀이 정말 가슴 깊이 와닿습니다. 제가 준비한 질문은 여기까지고요. 지금 현장에서 그리고 온라인으로 여러분들께서 우리 강연을 듣고 계신 우리 대화를 듣고 계신 여러분들께서 참여하고 계십니다. 여러분들의 질문을 제가 대신 전해드리겠습니다. 먼저 온라인으로 질문을 주신 KBR님 계십니다. KBR님의 질문 드릴게요. 책을 읽으면서 아마 이 책입니다. 이 낭만적 연애와 그의 일상을 읽으면서 그 사람은 나를 완벽하게 이해해줘야 돼 라는 기대가 문제라는 것을 공감했는데요. 그 기대를 내려놓으면 관계가 더 편해지지만 한편으로는 관계의 밀도가 옅어지는 것 같았습니다. 기대를 낮추는 것과 관계를 깊게 만드는 것 사이의 균형을 어떻게 찾아가야 할까요? 라는 질문을 해주셨습니다.
I think the answer lies in learning how to speak in a way in which perhaps we never spoke as a child or as a teenager, to speak with maximum sincerity and authenticity, but also patience. You know, many people in love, they don't know how to have difficult conversations with their partners. They either do two things. Either they don't speak at all, or they speak with too much anger, too much hostility, too much irritation. They humiliate their partner. They say, not just, you didn't understand how I feel about my work. They suggest that you are an idiot for not understanding this. But they suggest not just that your family is difficult, but that your family is awful. And this excessive criticism can stop a valuable criticism from being heard. And, I think that criticism should be a part of a good relationship. We should all be ready to learn from our partners about what we do wrong. We should always be educated by our partner, but we can't be educated by someone who shouts at us, by someone who humiliates us, by someone who mocks us. Think at school. The best teachers at school were calm. They made you feel comfortable. We learn when we are comfortable, not when we are terrified. And very often we scare one another with important lessons in life. But we do so without making each other feel relaxed and safe. So all of us have so much to learn in life, but we will only start to learn when we feel safe. So all of us need to become good teachers. I don't mean a teacher in a school or in a university. I mean a teacher in the bedroom, in the apartment, in private life. A teacher is someone who is calm, sometimes who uses humor, who is self-deprecating, who is gentle, and also who picks the right time. Sometimes lovers have conversations at the wrong time. When they are tired, they are exhausted. Maybe someone has drunk too much alcohol. Maybe someone is worried about something at work, and they choose this moment to have stressed, difficult conversation. Wait until the next day. Wait until you've slept. Wait a few hours so that your lesson will have a chance to be heard. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 잘 들었습니다. 다음 질문은 온라인에서 유나님이 해주신 질문입니다. 만약 인간 자체의 상처를 받아 세상에 벽을 치고 사람들을 밀어내고 살아왔다면, 혹은 사람들 간의 관계를 매체로만 겪고 직접적인 관계는 최소한으로만 맺어 인간관계가 힘들다면, 그런 사람은 어떻게 사랑을 시작할 수 있을까요? 라는 질문을 주셨습니다.
Again, this question is very important, and it helps us to see how much is missing from our societies. We think that we have all the businesses that we need. We think that capitalism delivers on all the requirements of human life. And in many areas, that's true. You are looking for a certain kind of chocolate bar, or a certain kind of tea, or a certain kind of pullover. You have enormous choices. There are so many shops, so many organizations that want to help you and that have good solutions. But if you are sad in love, if you are feeling that you are bruised, that you are melancholy, that there is a sadness in you about what you experienced maybe in your last relationship, where do you go? There is no shop for this. There is no home for this. There is no place for this. Why? Because our entrepreneurs have not seen the opportunity, an opportunity to create a home Not just for good chocolate, not just for a good pullover, not just for an efficient phone, but for all the troubles and struggles of love. I would like to see a world where in Seoul, when you are sad on a Friday night and you feel heartbroken and lonely, there is somewhere you can go. Let me give this place a name, even though it doesn't exist. Maybe there is someone in the audience who can start such a place, a Heartbreak Cafe. In the Heartbreak Cafe, you could enjoy not just tea and a cake, but something much more important, conversation. Conversation with other people like you, who feel sensitive, who feel fragile, and who right now would like to have a gentle and kind conversation about the pain inside their heart, to see if maybe the pain inside them is like the pain inside somebody else. This is the best solution. But we are still lonely, and we are lonely because we haven't understood what we need properly. We have not begun to create a world that is properly adjusted to the sorrows and difficulties that we experience inside ourselves. Thank you.
포탑을 파괴했습니다.
네, 잘 들었습니다.
또 가까이
다음에는 광화문 광장에서 린님께서 주신 질문 드리겠습니다. 사랑은 아름답기도 하고 또 고통스럽기도 한 것 같습니다. 상대를 100% 신뢰하는 방법이 없기 때문에 상대의 마음을 의심하고 시험하고 싶어 하죠. 이런 마음을 극복하기 위해서는 어떤 태도를 가져야 할까요? 라는 질문을 주셨습니다.
Look, I think that love is a dangerous activity. I mean, if you want to be totally safe, don't go anywhere near it, because love is like almost nothing else. But I think your question is saying, can we take some precaution? Can there be some safety rules, some way of mitigating the danger of it? And I think there are. Firstly, you need to surround yourself with friends who will be there. Even if love fails, you need a family of friends. And sometimes in the modern world, we place too much emphasis on romantic love and not enough on friendship. This is particularly the case with men, I believe, which is why heartbreak often affects men much more powerfully than it does women. Because when love fails for a woman, she still has her friends that she can turn to and say, I'm in pain and it hurts. But men are still in a prison of expectation around strength and invulnerability, which is why when love fails for them, often they have no one to turn to. So we need a support team. We also need a different kind of philosophy, a philosophy that can teach us that we are doing something a little bit heroic when we love. We are going on a journey. We're trying to do something very special, something noble, something that maybe will fail. If it succeeds, it will be beautiful and strong and wonderful, but if it fails, we will be hurt. But maybe we cannot define our love lives just by whether we succeed or not. We also have to think about our intentions. And maybe at the end of our lives, we should be able to say, I tried to love. I approached love with an open heart, with a generous heart. It didn't always work. Maybe the person I loved didn't love me or not properly. And this is just my fate. But it is a heroic fate, in a small way, in an ordinary life. Because of love, I have tried to do something extraordinary, even if I have sometimes failed. This should be the philosophy. Thank you.
네, 잘 들었습니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 관대한 마음으로 나는 사랑에 뛰어들었다라는 말씀이 마치 그 오늘의 피날레처럼 들립니다. 저희가 또 질문해 주신 분들이 아주 많지만 아쉽게도 저희에게 약속된 시간이 다 끝나가고 있습니다. 그 현장의 질문에도 정말 정성껏 대답해 주신 작가님께 다시 한번 감사드리고요. 또 적극적으로 질문해 주신 모든 분들께도 감사의 말씀 드리겠습니다. 알랭드 보통 작가님, 오늘 함께 해주신 분들께 마지막으로 인사 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
My final message is this. When we are lonely with the troubles of love, we feel we are the only ones who are suffering in the way we do. And my final message is we are not. If you are listening to this and you are suffering in love, let me tell you, I am with you, and many millions of people around the world have also suffered in the way that you do. To love is a hugely generous and wonderful thing to do. Do not stop loving because it is painful. Love is the finest thing in this world. This is a cruel world, a difficult world. If love is something that doesn't succeed for us, it is always worth pursuing nevertheless. Never stop giving up on love. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 절대로 사랑을 포기하지 않겠습니다. 귀한 시간 내어서 깊이 있는 이야기 나누어 주신 우리 알랭드 보통 작가님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네. 오늘 이 시간이 여러분들께 사랑에 대해서 한층 더 깊이 생각하고 성찰할 수 있는 그런 계기가 되었기를 바랍니다. 서울 야외도서관에도 많이 찾아오셔서 도심 속에서 세계 세상에 빠져보시면 좋겠습니다. 지금까지 함께 해주신 모든 분들께 감사드리고요. 이상으로 힙도겐 서울 야외도서관 개장 특별 작가와의 만남을 마치겠습니다. 오랜 시간 함께 해주신 분들 감사합니다.
Thank you so much. Bye to everybody. Thank you.